Welcome back, viewers. I am your host of the day, and today is Wednesday. Surprisingly, it's not Friday. And yes, we are actually needed to be back with some sort of updated news. Uh, this is all about New South Wales subclass 491 visa. Our registered migration agent, Mr. Saurabh Smar, is with us, and he is going to give us the update. Saurabh.
Good afternoon, Ankur, and good afternoon to our viewers as well. And it is quite surprising that we are actually live today on Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. So today, the reason for our live session this afternoon is just due to the new updates from New South Wales in regards to their skilled work regional visa, which is subclass 491. It was actually highly anticipated from the last few months that there's going to be new updates coming through New South Wales, and finally the updates are here. So we will be going to discuss all this information with our viewers as well. And if they do have any questions or doubts, well, what I would say is they can you can send us a message, or you can even ask during our live session as well. We will try our best to answer all the questions, and if your questions have been left not answered, certainly we will try our best to answer it afterwards.
Saurabh, let the viewers join the live session. In the meantime, I'm just putting forth a question to you. Like the New South Wales, they've actually come up with some sort of information with regards to subclass 491 visa. Are we anticipating any sort of same sort of news like from other states as well?
So what I can see is Victoria itself, they probably will be implementing, new updates and all those details as well. What I can see is on their website itself, you can see that they have advised that, if you're applying for 491 for Victoria, you will need to show that you've been living in Victoria, in regional Victoria, and working in regional Victoria from the last 6 months. So that is kind of an important thing that people actually need to be well aware about. And when it comes to South Australia, they normally said previously that they will be providing updates by the end of September, and then they moved it to October, and now they're actually saying that they're gonna be doing it in the month of December. So it is quite unusual for state governments to not give a definite time frame, but this is what it is currently. So we actually have to work around that, and yeah, that's pretty much all we can say.
And are they going to carry forward with the same like the past requirements, or we are thinking that they are going to change the requirements as well? Because yesterday when we both were talking to each other with regards to the requirements, you actually shared that couple of clients, they are actually thinking that the requirements are going to be much more harder, or they are going to change the requirements. So is this something which we are actually anticipating as well?
So clearly Victoria has actually invested a good amount of money as well, but this is how I'm actually taking it, that they have invested quite a good amount of money in getting the new requirements up, where they do have to persons have to lodge an ROI, and then once the ROI gets accepted, they would actually have to apply for the nomination application, and then once the nomination gets approved, then they will receive a invitation to apply for the visa. So I'm quite positive that they're going to keep those requirements the way it is, and also moving forward, what they're also going to be doing it is they will be actually putting forward the similar kind of the requirements that they already have on their website right now. So there are details available where it does says that if you do want to apply for 491, you would also need to have at least 6 months of work experience in a regional Victoria in your specified occupation. Plus, you would also need to show at least what's that called you must be living in the regional Victoria as well from the last 6 months. So those are the kind of requirements that we actually need to see. And
Mhm.
So I think without wasting too much time, do you want us to, dive right into the New South Wales? So we can see what the new, how the New South Wales people are actually looking forward to get their nominations and all that stuff. Plus, if you know on a if you look at this, we haven't actually seen any kind of a 119 why it's been done from New South Wales as of yet, and yeah, so we don't know when they would actually start giving out the invitations as
Hmm.
well. So we would still have to wait for that that outcome from New South Wales. And once we do get those kind of details, we would certainly be able to explain to our viewers further more information as well.
Okay. So, viewers, this session is all about New South Wales 491 updates. However, we'll be back on Friday as well with further new updates and the other things which we are going to talk about on this coming Friday. So, let's get back exactly on the topic. New South Wales skilled work regional visa subclass 491. Saurabh,
Hello.
hello.
Yes, sorry, that was I think a technical glitch. I missed out the last bit. So okay, because as you know, there has been so many updates recently in terms of these migration updates and stuff. So pretty much we will be discussing those migration updates at 6 p.m. this Friday. But today, our sole purpose is to discuss 491. So let's not waste our time and let's dig right into subclass 491 for New South Wales. The most important update is this is the way it was used to be before last year, where New South Wales used to let the different the regional areas like Murray, Orange, Orana. So those RDAs used to actually publish their skilled occupation list, and based on those occupation lists, you have to apply for that RDA itself. That was the time when they would open their nominations for, like, let's say 9 a.m. in the morning, and by 5 past 9 it's all full. You
Yeah.
cannot apply for those anymore at all. So I think that's going to happen again. So my tip for all the aspiring candidates or visa applicants who are willing to apply for 491 for New South Wales, you have to be very quick for New South Wales 491 when it comes to RDAs. You cannot, because when people start applying, a lot of people start applying at exact 9 a.m. Their server gets clogged down, and then you would actually have to have your full application ready at that moment of time. Your documents needs to be correctly organized. Otherwise, they would just don't care. They just send you back, and that's it. So moving forward, so the most important thing is they have specified there is going to be a three different criteria. The first one is living and working in the regional New South Wales. Second one is if you have recently completed studies in regional New South Wales. Say, for example, a lot of people are studying in Wollongong University. They are studying in Orana. There are a lot of vet colleges in there as well, where you're studying commercial cookery, motor mechanic. So there is an option for you as well if you have recently finished your studies in a regional New South Wales. Or there is another third option, which is if you are living or working outside of New South Wales, say if you're working in a different state, or if you're working in overseas as well, if you're working overseas, etc. So those are kind of options available as well. So also another thing is that what they want to see is that you are working in your closely related occupation. So when it comes to closely related occupation, is if you are, say for example, you are a software engineer, and your code probably will be 261312 or whatever. So software engineer also falls in the unit group of software and application programmers. That means that if you are a software programmer, software developer, software engineer, and developer programmer, they all falls in the same unit group because the first four units are same. That means that you could be working in your closely related occupation as well, and you can claim points and use that towards your New South Wales 491 application. So talking about living and working in regional NSW, so what it is, the most important aspect for general skill migration is you need to have your skills assessment, because skills assessment is a pathway to any general skill migration program. And when it comes to New South Wales itself, they have requested that you would need to have a valid skill assessment, and the some skill assessments are valid for up to 3 years until unless it has been clearly mentioned for the validity of their assessment on their skill assessment. And you must be living in your designated area in New South Wales for at least 12 months and working in your occupation or a closely related occupation for the last 12 months as well. And so this is the requirement. The first requirement is if you are living and working in regional New South Wales. Second requirement moving forward is if you have recently completed your study in regional New South Wales, say for example, but for that as well, you would need to have your positive skills assessment. Okay. If you think that you are on a student visa, you did Master of Nursing, for example, or a Bachelor of Nursing at Wollongong University, you finished your nursing, you did your registration, you did your skills assessment, so you have a skill assessment ready. You meet the minimum of 50 points so that the state can give you 15, so 65 points in total. Then you can actually apply through this recently completed study in regional New South Wales. Sometimes students don't even have to go to a 485 visa. They can even apply for 491 visa straight away, as the requirements are quite similar to what it's been for a 485, that your study must have been completed in the last 24 months. Those were the similar requirements that Victoria used to have as well when it comes to 190 or other for engineering technologist or a registered nurse as well. And thirdly, moving forward, we do have this requirement, which is about if you are living and working outside New South Wales. Say, for example, if you are from South Australia, Victoria, or are you from overseas, you're working in UK in your own field. So you could also be eligible to apply for those options as well. As you know, previously New South Wales used to invite people from overseas first, then go to New South Wales, then look into different states. Then there was change due to the COVID-19. No more going, no more offshore applicants. Only New South Wales. Then maybe some other states. Then other states were completely bolted down. Then only New South Wales. And then it was changed that you must have at least 1 year of, you must have a work experience as well of 1 month in order to provide those details. So when it comes to living and working outside of New South Wales, the first important aspect is if you are in a different state, is job offer in regional NSW. So if you, as I said, the first important requirement is a valid skill assessment. And then the second one is that you must have a job offer of an ongoing employment. That means that that ongoing employment could be relevant to your occupation. It has to be either closely related to your nominated occupation, or it has to be in your nominated occupation itself. And that offer must be from an employer that is actually located in your designated area of NSW. And the business must be registered in Australia. Obviously, they would have their ABN number, they are registered in Australia. But NSW, they have not mentioned, they have not provided much details about how old that registration should be, whether the business must be 2 year old. That's what the requirements for Victoria was, that the business must be at least 2 year old, must be operating in the last 2 years, etc. But NSW has not provided those details yet. What they have clearly said is that you must have a skills assessment and you must have a job offer in your nominated occupation or a closely related occupation. So a lot of people would be currently, say, for example, if you are a chef, you are in Victoria, and if you get a job offer from a restaurant in Orange or in Griffith, and you think that you are actually eligible, you could be eligible to apply for 491 for from that RDA, that regional development area. But we don't know what the occupation lists are. Every RDA will have their own occupation list, and then only you will be able to see whether how much is how much, which occupation is in how much demand, because that's how they used to have previously, where you would actually need to, they would used to show you that, okay, so this is what the requirements are, and moving forward, so that's pretty much what they're going to do as well. And moving forward to an offshore applicant, so if you are actually currently offshore and you want to look for your options as well, like what options do you have yourself. If you reside outside of Australia, as I said, the most important requirement, which is a general skill migration for any general skill migration, is your valid skills assessment. You will need to have that assessment ready at the time of application, at the time of your invitation as well. And if you're an offshore candidate, you need to have at least 5 years of skilled employment in your nominated occupation or a closely related occupation. And those 5 years of experience, it can also be used as a minimum of 20 hours per week. That's pretty much what it's normally accepted with the general skill migration visas. And it can also be done on a full-time basis as well. So if you do meet those kind of requirements, you have those 5 years of work skilled employment experience, you could also be eligible to apply for 491 as an offshore candidate. Any other questions do you have, or do you want me to proceed with the family or regional ties here, Ankur?
No, I'm exactly not having any question at the moment, but yes, certainly let's finish this 491, and then yeah, well, I'm going to ask you the questions.
Perfect. And then thirdly, this one we have is a family ties in regional New South Wales. So this option is gonna come really handy for a lot of people who have actually, their first cousin, their relatives, who are actually living in the in New South Wales regional area, and they probably be able to apply for 491 based on that as well. So what they say is that you need to have an immediate family member, okay? That is a little different than a 491 family sponsored option. Because 491 family sponsored, you can even get your first cousin to apply as well. But here, the person needs to be your immediate family member. Either it can be your grandfather, your grandmother, father, mother, brother, or sister. So those are considered as your immediate family members, and that person must be either a permanent resident, they must be an Australian citizen, or they must have a 489 visa, or they could also have a 491 as well, because 491 is also an NSW nominated provisional visa. And as long as they've been residing in the designated area from the last 2 years, and then yes, they could also actually, you can apply through the family ties in NSW pathway as well. So these are the few options that are actually available. And just to let everyone know that they haven't actually started this option yet. It is still, this is what they have actually published, that this is how moving forward is going to be. And what I would recommend all our viewers is that if you do have any doubts or any questions whether you are actually eligible for this, NSW requirements as well, you can ask us a question, and we are more than happy to assist you in answering that kind of question as well. And as previously I did explain that as well, that NSW RDAs, they fill up really quickly. So you actually have to be really quick in order to grab that opportunity, because they actually, a lot of people do want to apply for that, and then the systems, they actually get clogged up, and then sometimes a lot of people, they do, they get left out as well. So, and you don't get another opportunity, because these RDAs are really strict as well. They're not just let you pass by like that. So this is what the 491 NSW requirements are actually at the moment in a nutshell.
Right. Thank you, Saurabh. Thanks for giving us this quick update, and thanks, viewers, for joining this live session. My question with regards to this 491 visa, as you said, that these are just the requirements, mere the requirements. None of the occupation list has been out yet, right?
Yes. So different RDAs, they're going to publish their own requirements as well. So what their requirements going to be, etc. So we actually don't know which RDA. Orana probably might not even have any chefs in their list, but it could be the case the other, say for example, Murray, they might have chefs in their list. One would have software engineer, one would not. So if you are planning to apply for the jobs and stuff, so I would say just wait until you actually get a better picture of which state is actually inviting what, and then you can actually look into that as well.
And request to all our viewers, those who are actually after this NSW 491 visa and the further more information, you can call Saurabh on 04300 and he'll be happy to help you out. Well, with regards to 491, we've covered pretty much everything at the moment, the updates. What about 190, Saurabh?
Um, for Victoria, sorry, for 190, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same. It's not going to be the same way as 491. What is going to be the way? It's the way that the NSW has been doing. So they did clearly advise as well. If we do look into that as well, that they
Mhm.
will be actually inviting people based on the, if you are actually who are nominated by a state, if you are eligibly high skilled workers to drive economic growth in NSW. So those are the things that they are actually kind of looking into it as well.
Mhm.
And so they, as the way they normally work is New South Wales, they normally invite people from the pool of EOIs through the skill select system. So you don't actually have to apply for the nomination straight away. You actually have to wait for New South Wales to invite you. So once New South Wales actually invite you based on your EOI details, then they invite you to apply for your nomination. Once you do lodge your nomination, they are really quick. New South Wales sometimes they do approve nominations in a couple of hours.
Mhm.
Once you got the nomination approved, as soon as you receive a successful nomination outcome, you will also receive an another email with a skill select invitation, and then you can apply for the visa with that skill select invitation.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much for this quick update on NSW 491. And as said by Saurabh, that these are just the requirements. The occupation lists are going to be out soon. We request you to prepare all your documentation. So as soon as the RDAs are going to open up with the occupations related to your occupation, lodge it straight away. Now it's time for us to take some quick questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the. So the first question we have is from Rupali. So what is she saying is that when Victoria will announce. So Rupali, we as other states as well, like they clearly say that they probably will be planning on opening up their nomination outcomes by the end of October. Now we are almost the middle of November and almost reaching the end of November. So we are anticipating that it probably would have to be pushed down either till the end of November or first week of December, because nomination and the skill migration is actually a very important part of the state requirement as well. So they probably would be actually looking into it and trying to open it as soon as possible. South Australia said they're going to do it, very early. That's not the case anymore. So we probably would have to just, wait until we get the correct details from the department itself. So once it gets open, rest assured, we would actually certainly would be notifying you as well. We will notifying all our viewers by through the live session that we normally do, where we explain like how it's done and what are the occupation ceilings, etc. So which regional authority is providing what kind of information there as well. So yeah, so pretty much as soon as we get to know, we will make sure that you are aware of that as well.
Right. Thank you, Saurabh. Rupali Aprajita actually asked a further question. What are the documents required for NSW 491?
So Rupali, as you know, there's going to be scale assessments, and for other RDAs, different RDA have different way of providing documents. Most importantly, they would also need to see your commitment. You would also need to provide a commitment statement, some statutory declarations to RDAs that you will be staying with them for the next 2 years. So those are the kind of documentation. We can provide you a checklist, etc., to show you that look, these are the documents that actually that are required to apply for that as well. And some RDAs, they are actually really good in what's I call in doing your prioritizing your application as well if your visa is expiring very soon. So commitment letters, how you have to prove your commitment to their regional area, So those are the kind of details that that comes in play as well.
Thank you, Saurabh. Let's move forward. Imran Bajwa. Hi, Saurabh. Any news for NSW 190? Is there any chance to come up any update regarding 190? I think we've already discussed it, but yeah, please, if you can
Yeah.
give.
So yeah, Imran. Unfortunately, New South Wales, they actually have not published any details as well. And in the past as well, few of my colleagues have actually tried to do an freedom of information request to NSW to provide us with the details about how many invitations have been done, etc. So there has not been any proper response from the NSW authority yet. But if we do get to know the outcome or any details about the state government from New South Wales, we would certainly get in touch with you. We would notify you as well. We would update that on our Facebook page. So what I would say is, if you want to get to that, the correct information, make sure you do follow our Facebook page, where we do updates a couple of times in a day itself. So currently, we don't actually have a correct the right details yet, but we would certainly once we do get to know what are the and any news from NSW 190 in regards to the invitation, we would certainly let you know.
Thank you, Saurabh. Let's move forward. Mohammed Medwali. Thanks for the update. What are the chances for software engineer for 190 with 90 points, 85 plus 5 points from the state, without work experience points involved? Thanks.
So Mohammed, previously, as you know, software engineer, they had the requirement of you need to show at least 112 months of work experience in New South Wales for 190 as a software engineer. But we don't know what the new requirements going to be. They haven't actually published their 190 list yet. You know how New South Wales are. They actually publish those occupation lists where it does say that whether this occupation requires work experience or not, or whether it does require or whether it does not. So we don't know whether for software engineer there's going to be any work experience requirement there or not. As you know, software engineer is actually in a priority occupation list. That might have a good impact in terms of your if you can show that you do have work experience. But what I would recommend you is, if you have a past experience previously, any offshore experience, etc., you can use that towards your benefit by looking into employer sponsor options as well. Because a lot of people, I can tell you right now that we do have one of the clients from New South Wales. They contacted us. They only had 65 points as a software engineer, but what they do have is an employer and a past experience. With that experience, we were actually able to apply for their 186 direct entry, and with that, they were actually successfully able to receive a 186 direct entry nomination. They don't actually have to go through the PY and all that pathway at all. Use their experience in their benefit, and they were, and ultimately 186 direct entry permanent residency is a quick option, direct permanent residency from your employer itself. So what I would say is, seek other options as well. Don't just rely on a New South Wales state nomination options, because New South Wales themselves, they do tell you that as well, that don't just rely on us. Also look into other employment, other skill migration options as well with the department.
Alternative migration pathways.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move forward. Rehan Akbar. Thanks, Rehan. The question is it a good option for a person starting his TR to move to NSW regional area with MS Information Technology? Or should I stay in Sydney for 190 and complete PY and enter the pool?
Uh, what I would say is, it's always a better option, Rihan, if you are listening. It's always a better option to move to a regional New South Wales 491. Because if you are in regional New South Wales, you are also eligible for 491 as well as 190. Do you know what I mean? So you do actually, it goes in your favor as well. So you can do both by staying in a New South Wales 491. But you cannot do the other way around. You cannot stay in Sydney and then apply for 491. While you can stay in Wollongong or Orange or Griffith, and then you could be eligible for 491 as well as 190. So think of that as well. And if you're planning on doing a professional year from any regional uh, as well, you can request them to actually organize your employment options in New South Wales regional area itself, if that's the kind of option available.
So this is like the saying which you always use: killing two aims with one single stone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, you can actually look into that as well. But it does not work the other way around. So, be very careful in what you choose, Rihan, because professional year is actually quite expensive as well. There are some providers currently who are actually offering you guaranteed employment as well after your end of professional year. So look into those options, because if you can get an employment, guaranteed employment for at least a year, you get 5 points for that. Think of that as well. So pretty much you will be getting 10 points maybe for $10,000, which it's super hard to get those points.
Well, Rehan said, thank you for the advice. And we are at the last verge of our session. For any further inquiries, listeners, please do give us a call at 04300 Well, this is the time to say goodbye to our viewers. And yes, certainly we'll be back on Friday, 6 o'clock.
Thank you so much, Ankur. So I just want to say goodbye to our viewers, and I hope this subclass 491 new NSW information, the updated information, will be helpful for a lot of viewers. Sometimes it might not be helpful directly to you, but it could be helpful to your friends or family. So I would request our viewers to share this video to your friends and families, and let them know that this is the kind of option available, and then they can actually take it from there.
Yeah, and if you'll be
All right.
having any further questions, you can call Saurabh at 04300 And as Rupali just asked that, thanks for the advice. Can I send an email? Yes, certainly, Rupali, you can send us an email, and then yes, Saurabh will be happy to answer further. Thank you very, very much.
No problem. Thank you, Ankur, and we will see you guys again back on Friday, 6 p.m.
Thank you.